Hello everyone and welcome to Ian's Bricks. So as you may have seen from a recent video, I went to the Bournemouth Brick Festival. It's not the first time I've been to the Bournemouth Brick Festival. I went last year and the year before as well. This is only the second time though it's been held at the Bournemouth International Centre, which, if you know Bournemouth, it's right in the town centre, sort of. It's right on the beach. It really is in the centre of Bournemouth, and it's a very nice venue actually. And I have to say, as venues goes, a lot of these sort of brick fairs and festivals, they tend to take place in sports halls and things like that, which is nice. But this is sort of a proper concert venue. I mean, you get some quite big acts coming into Bournemouth, so it's quite nice to be in a location which is sort of so readily used and such a sort of a big event hall, which is quite nice. So this was held on Saturday, the 7th of September 2024. I managed to get traders tickets for this quite late on. It was only about 9 days before. I was obviously aware of it. It's what I would consider my local brick festival. I hadn't managed to get traders tickets when they first came out. They got snapped up quite quickly, but luckily for me there were some more tickets that went available. I was able to get in there, and I actually ended up going for 2 front tables and 2 backing tables. So normally when I go to these events, I'll just either have 2 front tables or 2 front tables and 1 backing tables. That does mean, of course, there's additional costs to the actual event, but I just thought it was worthwhile because, as I say, a friend of mine, Duncan, was able to bring extra sets in his car, which means I had more sets to sell, and so I thought it would be a good idea to have extra space, and it did actually work quite well. So the event itself, we could actually get to the event from 7:30 in the morning. That's the traders and the displayers, the only downside with the Bournemouth International Centre is really the parking. You could have gone and unloaded the car for 20 minutes. You get 20 minutes free within that car park. And then you can go and park elsewhere if you want. Now, I do know Bournemouth reasonably well, and there are places where you can park in Bournemouth for free, but it's a good 10-15 minute walk away from the location of the Bournemouth International Centre. And for me to sort of have to get in the car, drive away, come walk back down again or whatever, it just would have taken too long and taken too much of my setup time away. So it did mean that I had to pay for parking for the day, which is a horrendous £22. That really is the only downside about the Bournemouth International Centre, is the cost of the parking. It's an absolute rip-off. Look, I get where it is. It's in the centre of Bournemouth. You're right next to the beach and the pier and everything like that. You're going to get a lot of people using it, but yeah, it's just very expensive. So that really is the only downside about being at the Bournemouth International Centre. Setup went quite well, and as always, I always sort of run out of time when I do setup. I think because I had more sets to deal with, it just took me a little bit longer. I always bring my own tablecloths as well. And what I did do as well this time is I actually bought myself some shelving units. So normally when I go to these things, I've got this sort of older, it's just like a plastic thing that sort of it goes all together, and you've got the legs in and things like that. And it's quite small, but it just gives you a bit of height to your back of your display. So I decided to buy a couple more, knowing I was going to this event. Luckily I got them, I think it was from eBay, I think it was, and it was basically £62 for 2 big shelving units, and they were very useful. I actually ended up not using them as in 2, I ended up sort of getting 3, so I sort of had 4 shelves, 3 shelves, and then 2 shelves. So it kind of worked quite well, and I was able to stack up my Lego behind everything, and it just looked really good. The only downside is they do take a lot of space up in my car, so I won't be able to take them to every single event, but certainly if there are any local events or events where I can make more than one trip, say the night before, then it might be useful to be able to take those to future events. And I've got them forever now, so yeah, they cost me £62, but I will be able to use those again. So there are other costs as well, of course, in going to these brick festivals, and that's the cost of the traders tables. Now, they can vary depending which organisation you use or how many tables you get, but the total for this was £193, With Brick Festival, what normally happens is you do you sort of book your deposit, which is normally about £10, and then you pay for the actual front tables, and then you can also pay for the backing tables as well. I think the backing tables were £15 or £20 each. The front tables, I think it varies to how many you have. I think it's something like 65 or 60 for the first one, and then 70-ish for the second one. So it's a little bit more expensive for the second table. But the total, including all the booking fees and whatever else there was within that, I can't remember, I think maybe booking fees are included in the price, but it basically cost me £193. So that's quite a lot of money to spend on these things, before you go in there. But look, I'm very, very aware the cost of a venue like the BIC is probably quite high, and they did have obviously their own staff and security in there. I know there was a couple of security people going round. There was a sort of a slippy patch on the floor outside, very close to where my table was. I kept slipping in it, and I sort of mentioned it to a security guard, and straight away they had some cleaners come in and mop it all up, and it was just like a grease mark. It was very, very odd, but obviously with the shiny wood floors, it just made it a little bit dangerous, and they had wet floor signs on there for the rest of the day, which was slightly annoying, but it was far enough away from my table not to cause me too much of an issue. So the staff actually at the BIC were really, really good, and as I say, they dealt with that very, very quickly. So yes, that's probably one of the reasons why the costs are so high. So I appreciate with anything, there's always going to be costs involved, and they have to, the price of the tickets for the people to get in there, the general public, but also you have the traders' tables like me, which obviously cost as well. So yeah, just a few costs as well. Petrol wise, it probably didn't cost me too much to get there. I literally live about 25 minutes away. I probably spent £8 to £10 in petrol in total for that day. I mean, I didn't even count it really, but yeah, just a very, very small amount of petrol, just because it is such a local event. There are additional costs as well, such as card fees, which I'll talk about towards the end when I go over my profit and everything like that. So what did I take with me? I took loads of sets with me. I managed to take a total of 226 sets. So I didn't take any polybags this time. I kind of ran out of time to organise getting my polybags ready, but also I find polybags quite time consuming sometimes because they've got a low value, and it just, yeah, I just wanted to take just sets this time. I had enough space to take lots and lots of sealed sets, and that sort of ranged from anything from sort of a tiny little set to sort of this sort of size where you've got like a promo or something, to sort of a bigger set like say the Vestas wind turbine or something like that, or the holiday train that I took with me. So sort of a real variety of sets. I didn't have any sort of massively expensive sets. A lot of my older sets, like the modular buildings that I used to take to these shows, I've sold all of those now. All the old ones have gone. So the sets I was taking were generally sort of what I consider medium to smaller size, which do tend to sell well at these kind of events. I've sort of found over the years doing these that I've been doing this, that the smaller to medium sets do go reasonably well, because if you've got a massive set, they can be quite hard to shift sometimes. I found that with the greengrocer when I was trying to sell that at previous shows. It was quite expensive. It's quite a bulky set, and people were liked the set but just couldn't either afford it or didn't want to take it home because it's just too big. So I get that's why I sort of take the sort of the smaller sets. Anyway, of those 226, I actually counted up, and I actually sold exactly half of them. So I sold 113 of those sets, which isn't bad going. I mean, it's not a huge amount of sets to sell when you think about it, 113, but I think for a day like that where the trade-in was only 10 till 4, so you've got 6 hours to sell everything, that wasn't a bad turnaround. I was never crazy busy on the stall, although the event was very, very busy and very well attended. It never got to the stage where I got sort of majorly stressed out. I always get a little bit stressed out at these things because you've got people coming up and you can guarantee that someone will start talking to you, and then somebody else wants to buy something. I've normally got my partner Anthony there to help if anything, if anyone does need to sort of pay, and occasionally people are queuing for the card reader and things like that. So but it generally wasn't too bad. There were never any periods where I was completely run off off my feet. Although saying that, I literally was on my feet all day. There was sort of a constant, even sort of later on in the afternoon between sort of 2 and 4 o'clock when these things normally die down, there was just a nice steady stream of people coming and buying the odd thing here and there. So yeah, it was a very well attended venue. So I will say well done to the Brick Festival people who organised this, for how much they sort of advertise these events, how they can get these people through the doors, and obviously, yeah, they're doing the right thing, and they're getting enough people through. So I don't know how many people attended on the day, but it was certainly very well attended. Let's talk about some of the sets that I did sell. So these are the sets over £100 that I managed to sell. I sold the Galaxy Explorer for £110. There was the Legoland theme park for £100. The Stormtrooper helmet I sold for £170. I'd taken that to the last couple of shows and it hadn't sold. So finally that's my last Stormtrooper helmet, so that's gone now. I also sold the Bad Batch shuttle for £180. Again, I'd taken that to a couple of shows, slightly more expensive set, but it did go to this particular event. So the Carnage helmet for £100, 12 Grimmauld Place from Harry Potter for £155, and the Avengers Tower. Finally sold my last Avengers Tower for £150. Not a lot of profit in that one, but glad to sort of see that one finally go to a good home. Of those sets I talked about, obviously there was profit varying levels on all of those sets. I actually made a loss on one of those sets, and that was the Legoland theme park. This is a set that this is the first time I've taken this set to any event, and the reason why is because they just have not increased in value. I got these during lockdown, so when lockdown first came in 2020, so I've had this for 4 years, quite a long time. Legoland Windsor sort of suddenly had this website that came up and said you can buy our Lego sets from us. Obviously they needed to make some money, and one of them was the theme park set, and I actually quite liked it. In hindsight, I shouldn't have really paid what I paid, because it worked out at about £115. I bought 2 of these sets, so I've still got one more. Annoyingly, I think you could go then, when stores started to open again later in the year, I realised that you could actually go to some of the Discovery Centres here in the UK and pick the same set up for around about £80. So I was kind of already onto a bit of a loser with that one, just because, yeah, just one of those things. This happens sometimes when you're buying Lego to invest. Anyway, I'd taken it to this fair thinking, look, I need to get rid of these. So I put £120 on it, so look, not much profit, only a £5 in there. And it was towards the end of the day, and this guy came up and said, I'll give you 100 quid for it. And I'm just like, no, I can't sell it for £100 because I'm actually making a loss on it. And he says, I'll give you cash. And I just thought, look, somebody wants to buy something. Yes, it's overall, in the long run, I'm losing £15 on this set. But he's got £100, he's got £100 cash. I can take that money, I can invest it in something else that probably will appreciate in value, because I don't see these theme parks going up in value anytime soon. So yeah, you're probably saying, oh Ian, what are you doing, selling something at a loss? But at the end of the day, it's money back in the pocket. Yes, it's a small loss, but in the long run of things, I've still made a profit on the whole day. So yeah, it swings and roundabouts. Maybe I shouldn't, maybe I was a bit end of the afternoon, another £100, but that's what I did. So yeah, it just sort of happens. I mean, there were a few people during the day that were sort of bartering, and I didn't mind too much. I mean, a couple of people I said no to. There was a couple of other things earlier on that people wanted a little bit of money off, and I'm just like, well, no, that's kind of early on in the day, and it's, blah blah blah. So a lot of things I just kept at stock price, and there were other people as well that maybe bought multiple things. And I always, if someone's buying 2, 3, 4 or five of something, I'll say, oh, can you do me a deal on that? I'll add up however much everything is and take a small amount off there, because I think it's fair enough. If someone's buying a few things off you, they get a little bit of a discount as well, and it's good for business, I suppose. So yeah, that all went pretty well there for the sell sets, apart from that theme park where I made a bit of a loss. A few of the larger sets that didn't sell, The 10254, the winter holiday train, I had that on at 195. That didn't sell. Again, I've taken that to a few events now. Maybe as we get closer to Christmas that might be more popular. Also 10268, the Vestas wind turbine, I had at 260. I sold one of these recently. This is the second one that I've got. It's going to be a slow one to sell. I know it'll eventually go. That's what they sell for on eBay. They probably sell for slightly more than that. And actually the box is in really good condition. So people were looking at it and people saying, oh, you know, that's interesting. But again, it's quite a high priced item and maybe that puts a lot of people off. Also that didn't sell, which I was surprised about, 21304, the Ideas Doctor Who set. I had that on at £180. I did see that somebody else had a stall as well with the Doctor Who set, and I think it was around about the same price. I didn't get round to check all the different stalls, but maybe there were other sets there that were maybe cheaper than that. But I thought that was quite a good price. Again, going on sold eBay prices, which is what I always do when I'm pricing my items up. I look at sold eBay prices. Another one that didn't sell, not surprisingly, 40502, the brick moulding machine. This is from the Lego house. I actually bought 3 of these when I went to the Lego house 2 years ago. I've sold 2 of them now, so this is my last one. I had it on at 380. Quite a difficult one to price because there just aren't that many have sold new sealed ones in the UK. So one had sold for well over £400, another one had sold for about 350ish. So it's very difficult to price it. I mean, someone could always barter, I suppose, but it's what I had it on at 380. Didn't really get a lot of interest. I think unless you know what that set is, it's quite a difficult one. So I might have that at a few shows in the near future until it actually sells. And also one that didn't sell, which I was surprised about, 75335, the Star Wars BD1. Quite a popular set this. I had it on at £115. It didn't sell, but I think this is something that could do quite well. It's gone up quite a lot in value over the last year, but yeah, for whatever reason it didn't sell on the day, and that can happen sometimes. You have some sets that you think, oh, this will never sell in a million years, and it's the first thing that sells off your stall. You take something that's and yeah, someone's definitely going to want to buy this, and nobody ever does. So that just happens sometimes. Some of the sets which didn't sell, which I was a little bit not surprised about, disappointed about really, were the Ninjago micro builds. So these are the sets that you can buy using your insider points from Lego, and they are selling on eBay, so people are selling them for between around about £25-ish. So what I did is there were 4 different of these micro sets to collect. I took 4 of them as individuals and priced them up individually, and I also took a pack of 4 as well to sell as one job lot. So I think the individual prices I had between £24 and £28 depending on the set, and for all 4 I had them all sort of bagged up and everything, and had that on at £95. Just didn't really get a sniff on any of them. People didn't really look at them. They weren't interested in them. I don't buy a lot of Ninjago, so I get that my stall hasn't got any other Ninjago sets on there. But yeah, I thought I might buy some more of these with my insider points, but the fact that they didn't sell at all at my Lego fair was like, oh, maybe these aren't so good. So I shall be holding off buying any more of those at the moment. But yeah, they weren't. People didn't go for them for whatever reason. Another thing that didn't go is I took some little figures as well. So recently I bought some Lego goats from the Pick-a-Brick from Lego.com, and some of the spacemen as well. I think I took five of each. I did sell 1 goat for £8, but the spacemen didn't sell. I originally had them on a sort of display on one of the legs of my stands, which was a little bit further away. I sort of decided people weren't seeing them there, so I sort of moved them forward to the front of the table, and people were looking at them. Someone did actually comment as well that somebody else on another table had got the space figures for £15 each on their stall. I was asking £18 for the 2, for the blue one and the white one. So the prices I think were okay, but yeah, people just didn't seem to want to go for them. So I've got a few of those now to sell, which I'm hoping I will be able to at one stage. One thing that did sell quite well, I was really pleased about, finally, was some of the Dimensions sets. Now, I got these Dimension sets at an auction hall early this year, and I'm sure at my last fair that I went to, which was a while ago now, which was, I think it was a Northampton National Brick event, they just didn't really sell. I maybe sold one or two. The event before that, I can't remember where that was now, but they didn't sell there either. And I'm thinking, oh no, but all these dimension sets, nobody wants to buy them. I had to check on my prices. I maybe lowered a couple of them very, very slightly, but not by much. But of the 24 dimension sets that I took, and they weren't all different, there were some duplicates, but there was a good variety of dimension sets, and I sort of displayed them all on top of these other sets towards the back on my display. But I sold 13 of the 24, so I know it's only still fairly small numbers, but I think as a whole they seemed quite popular. People were looking at them. I had some duplicates, like the Doctor Who one. I had more than one of, for example, Doctor Who and the Cyberman. Yeah, finally they went quite well, and I think they are quite popular. So why they hadn't sold before, I don't know, but people at Bournemouth seem to like them. So if you bought some of those, that's great. I know one guy, I think he bought 5 or 6 from me in one go, so thank you very much for that. I know he watches the channel, so that's much appreciated. But yeah, there's some really unusual figures and stuff in there, so I can see why they would be popular, but I'm sort of glad that they sold, because it kind of gives me some hope that the rest of them that I've got I'll be able to sell on at another time. Another thing that always does well at these shows are the promo sets, or the gifts with purchase. I took quite a few of them with me. I actually sold 27 altogether. I am starting to run a bit low on the gifts with purchase these days, just because all of my older ones have sort of sold out now. So most of the promo sets I've got now are pretty much from this year or last year. But yeah, sold 27 of them altogether, and they vary in price from sort of £8 for this little Star Wars coin that you had that was given out earlier this year, all the way up to, I think the most expensive one I think was the Winnie the Pooh, the Steamboat Willie, which I had on at 38, and that sold as well. There were some of them that were quite popular, which I took multiples of. So there was the Trade Federation Carrier from earlier this year, that promo, and I was selling those for 35. I sold all 3 of those that I took with me. As to with the fireworks set, 40689, I actually had that on at £12, although one of my price stickers said 18. So this guy went to buy it, it was £12. I says, I'll just put it back on the table, I've got another one around the back. The one around the back had an old sticker on which had £18 on it. And he says, hang on a second, that's only 12 quid. So apologies if that was you. Yeah, it's fine. I only sold, I actually refunded him. I could actually do a refund up on my SumUp card reader. I charged him 18 for it. I just refunded £6, and I'd never done that before on the SumUp card reader, so that worked really, really well. That's how I take all my credit card payments. So yeah, so 3 of those fireworks sets. I also sold 3 of the coins as well. 5008818 is the set number. That's the Star Wars coin from earlier this year. So yeah, they do very, very well, those gifts with purchase, and they're always great because I consider those a zero buy-in cost. So they're sort of all profit, which is always very, very good. I know in the past I've probably sold quite a lot more of the gifts with purchase, but as I say, I am starting to run a little bit low on those. Another set which did very, very well, which didn't sell at my last fair, and that was the 31147, the retro 3-in-1 camera from Lego Creator. So these are sets which were earlier this year. You could buy 2 for £20 from Argos, and I think Amazon were price matching it for a period of time. And so I picked up quite a few of these, and I actually took them to my last brick fair, and I didn't sell a single one, and I'm like, oh, but I had them on at £15, so normally they're £18 recommended retail, and I had them on at 15, didn't sell a single one. And previously at other fairs I'd had them on at I think 14 and they sold, so all I did was I just changed the prices on them, put them back down £1 to £14. I took 5 of them with me. All 5 of them sold out, and in fact one lady came back and said, oh, have you not got any cameras left? It says no, I've just sold the last one. So I could have sold even more. So how bizarre is that, you know, if you get the pricing slightly wrong, just like £1 more, people weren't buying them last time. This time £14, everyone had snapped them up. And people were saying that, oh, over there it's £18, over there it's £16. You know, it can make all the difference sometimes, just being that £1 or £2 cheaper than somebody else. I'm still making a bit of profit out of it, and not a huge amount, admittedly, £4 per set. It's not a great deal, but it's just quite nice to have little sets like that on there, and also it gets people over to your stall as well if they're willing to buy something cheap. I think with a couple of the cameras, people bought the cameras and they bought bought something else as well. So it's just a sort of a little marketing ploy that I have, but it seemed to work this time. So yeah, it really is important to get your prices right, because people might not buy things if they're too much. What else do I need to talk about? Oh, let's talk about the SumUp card reader, because I was talking about that before. So my little card reader that I've got, it's just a small sort of little machine. Let me show you what it looks like. Here we are, this is my SumUp card reader, and all it basically is just a little device. I link it to my phone. You can put your card in the top there, your credit card in the top if it's more than £100. Anything under £100 you can just tap to pay and just sort of turn it on there, and you see what it looks like. Yeah, quite a simple thing. People put the PIN number in. Most of it's sort of contactless these days, so with phones and watches and things. And the signal in the Bournemouth International Centre was okay. I had a bit of a problem last year when I was there, that it was very in and out. I was in a different part of the hall this time, and it seemed to be the signal was better than last time. Also, I think last year it was like the hottest day of the year, and there was just so many people in Bournemouth on the beach and things that everybody was using their phones and jamming up the signal. So there was fewer people in Bournemouth, I think, because the weather really wasn't that great outside. It was very cloudy. It was raining in the afternoon, so that means I think there was more signal to go around. So that was okay. But after about an hour and a half, 2 hours, this thing packed up. It decided not to talk to my phone anymore. And I was restarting this, I was restarting my phone, turning the Bluetooth on and off, faffing around. Eventually I just sort of gave up on it. So luckily for me, SumUp now, and they started doing this a few months ago, not that long, but they do this sort of tap to pay thing. So I've just got my normal sort of smartphone, and I could set the price up on the phone, and then people, what they had to do is they had to tap their card or their phone onto the back of my phone, and that would still take the payment. So at least, even though that the card reader packed up, it did mean that I could still take some money on my card reader. A lot of people were quite impressed because they'd never seen it done like that before. I was a little bit, it's a bit weird sometimes, because obviously people were sort of tapping their card. They're always very, they sort of do that, and it's not firm enough. And a lot of the time I was sort of just thinking, let me just take your card, and sort of rubbing the card on the back of the phone, and it kind of worked. So you had to be a little bit forceful sometimes. It wasn't perfect, and if you were one of those people that had to wait a little while for the payments to go through, thank you very much for waiting. I do apologise, I was having a few technical issues that day. When I got home, I checked everything, and all it needed to do is I just sort of needed to go and reset this and log it into my phone again, and it's all working again fine now. So if this goes down again next time, I'll kind of know what to do. So yeah, it was slightly annoying on the day, but there was at least a way around it, and I was able to take payments despite there being a few glitches. Yeah, the event packed up at 4 o'clock. Obviously I only had half the amount of sets to pack away, so it always makes packing up a little bit easier. I have to say I was pretty shattered on the Saturday evening. I'd been on my feet all day. Normally at these events it calms down a bit towards the end of the day, and it just hadn't, and so I'd never really got a chance to sit down. So I was absolutely shattered. My poor little feet were hurting, and the funny story with that is that evening I sort of got home, I'd unpacked the car, I was absolutely shattered. I decided to go to my local Chinese restaurant just round the corner, Chinese takeaway, and I'd ordered over the phone. I went round and I was sort of hobbling around like an old man. I'm not that young anymore, but hopefully don't look that old. And as I sort of went in, I said, "Oh yes, it's in order for Ian." And anyway, I sort of looked around and there were no chairs. And this young lad just suddenly sort of jumped up and saying, "Would you like a seat?" Like I was this old man hobbling around. So I just thought that was quite funny. I didn't turn him down. I took the seat because I was absolutely shattered. I'd hardly sat down all day. So just one little funny story from the end of the day. And I have to say, the Chinese was lovely. It was really nice. It just totally hit the spot after such a busy day. Anyway, back to the actual event as well. I know one thing I haven't maybe talked about too much in the past is how much I make at these things, and I've hummed and hawed whether or not to do that. But at the end of the day, there's no sort of secrets about, you get an idea of what 100 sets, how much they all cost. So what I will say is that in total, I took just over £4,000. I think it's 4,050, give or take a few pounds. So that for me is a pretty successful event. I have had more successful events in the past. I think Southampton earlier this year was certainly busier, but it definitely was one of my better shows. So yeah, the take-ins on the day were very, very good. Of those take-ins, around about 3/4 of those were on the card. So I had around about 25% cash, 75% were all on the card or phone or however you want to pay it, but credit payments. So it just shows you how important it is to have that card reader. I think at these fairs, if you don't have a card reader, you wouldn't be getting as much money at all. So it's so important to have a card reader and one that works as well. So glad that tap to pay worked. So yeah, just over £4,000. So what about the costs? So I've talked about some of the costs already. The tables cost me £193. There was the parking and the petrol. Parking was £22. Petrol was about £8, so that's about £30. And also the shelves as well. Now I've included the shelves as a cost for this show because it's the first time I had them. Obviously, I've got those shelves to use again at a future show, but I just thought it was one of the only costs that I'd had. I've got a lot of stickers and labels and things. I'd already got plenty of those. I didn't need to buy any more of those. So they were really my only sort of major costs that I had for this particular show. And also, SumUp, the card reader people, they take 1.69% of anything that you take on your card. So that worked out at around about £52. So that just comes off the total that they pay you, and that normally gets paid out the following Monday. This was Saturday, and it normally comes through straight into my bank account by Monday afternoon, early evening. So it comes through ever so quick, which is really, really good. And also we have to talk about the cost of the sets as well, because not all of those sets that I bought were free. There were some gifts with purchase that were completely free, but not all of them were. So the cost of the sets that I sold was £1,950. So that's quite a lot, but obviously a lot of these sets I'm sort of buying in stores, online, wherever I'm buying them from. But it just sort of shows you even a lot of the sets aren't that old. There is still some money to be made in Lego if you get your pricing right and able to sell quite a few things. So if we have the £4,050, take off all of those costs there, the £1,950 of the actual cost of the sets, all the other little costs as well, that makes my net profit for the day £1,613. So you'll have to let me know whether you think that's a decent amount. I think it is, personally. I've certainly had worse days. It's a lot of work for that kind of money, but you sort of think about any kind of job or anything like that. It's not a lot of time really. And I think the most important thing is I really enjoy doing it all as well. I love playing shopkeeper at these fairs and festivals. I really do enjoy doing that and talking to everybody as well, because I'm starting to get recognised more and more. Had a couple of selfies during the day. People always like to come over and chat. I don't always get a chance to chat as long as I would like, just because I'm busy. I'm chatting to somebody and I can see someone in my peripheral vision sort of wanting to buy something, so just bear with me a second while I just take this payment here. So yeah, but I do really, really enjoy doing it, and there will be better fairs out than that where I make more profit, and there will certainly be some worse ones as well. This is certainly one of the better ones, and I think as a day, I think it went very, very well. Now obviously in the future I'm going to have to pay tax on that. Anything that I earn from this tax year I will be paying in a year and a bit's time. So by the time I get to January of 2025, I'll be paying for the previous tax year. It's all very, very complicated, but I do make a record of all the purchases that I have. Obviously anything on the card reader and the cash has to be declared as well. I put the cash straight into my bank account, so it's all there for the tax people to see if they need to see it. So yes, I will be declaring tax, because I do get people asking me in my comments, do you declare tax? Yeah, I do, because I don't want to be that person that ends up in jail for not paying their tax bill. Yeah, but that's pretty much it. I think that's all the notes I've got on there. All in all, it was a very, very successful event. I thoroughly enjoyed it, made a bit of money as well. I needed to make take that money because I've spent so much over the summer that I had a big credit card bill to pay, but that's all paid now, which is good. So no fees on my credit card bill for this month, which is exactly what I wanted. And I've got plenty of fairs and festivals coming up as the autumn continues. My next one is actually Leicester Brick Festival, which is the 29th of October. So I'm looking forward to that one. That's quite a journey for me. I've got an overnight stay with that one, which does eat into your profits. Yeah, it's about a 3-hour drive away from me. It's probably the furthest north I'm going this year. I say north, but you get what I mean by that. It's not north, it's kind of classed as the East Midlands, but for me it's quite a way north. 3 hours is quite a long day, especially when you sort of got to drive there the day before and then drive on the way back. It makes it a very, very long day when you've got a long journey. But I am still looking forward to that. Well, hopefully that will be nearly as busy as Bournemouth. I'm not sure it will be, but I think it should still hopefully be quite good. So looking forward to that. That's pretty much it for now then. So I do hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you to all the people that came over to say hello at the fair and festival, and some of the other traders as well. I always try and have a chat with some of the other traders. We don't always get as long to chat as we'd like because it was just such a busy event, but I did say hello to quite a few people. But yeah, conversations were short and sweet, unfortunately. And if you have got any queries or questions about brick fairs, brick festivals, brick events, please do write them in the comments and I will try and answer those as well. So thank you for watching. Take care. Until next time, we'll see you then. Bye for now.